What is the good word? Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Thank you for joining. Tip of the cap to you. If you're watching this broadcast live, I hope that means that you either already clapped cheeks or got your cheeks clapped, or perhaps, or perhaps you have a cheek clapping scheduled for later. And if you're not currently, logging in, covered in goo, then I just wanted to remind you that if you didn't get clapped today, we're all getting clapped. So nobody's single this Valentine's Day because we're all getting it directly in the brown eye. So welcome to America and congratulations. Your dry spell is over because you just got popped by the powers that be. So thanks for coming in. Hopefully they didn't do that already, but you know what it is. The world is stupid. Thank you for joining. I wanted to clap your cheeks for a little bit here today on this Valentine's Day. The demons over at the mysterious application that's not located in the country with the red flag or whatever finally unblocked me from going live because I said things that were objectively true. So I'm at a timeout for the time being, but hopefully covered in goo doesn't break the rules this time or whatever. But everything's stupid. Thanks for being here. Look, the world is garbage. I just posted a video on my Instagram as well as on my TikSnap of a allegedly human person, a Gen Z allegedly person, just saying alien sounds, when asked a partially English question. They were like, "What's your net worth?" to a guy that probably doesn't have too much net worth or know what net worth means. And he proceeds to go, and I was just like, wow, literally beam me up, Scotty, because I'm trying to depart this actual universe. Gen Z, are you good, bro? I just wanted to just maybe check in. I hope you guys are all right out there. I heard on a podcast today that apparently the gens of the Zs are very not doing well, as it were. They're a little bit worried. They're considering not residing on the earth any longer. So I just wanted to remind them that it's going to be all right. Everything is stupid, and maybe just take it easy. And it would be really cool if the allegedly adults out here on the literal planet of actual literal Earth would maybe just, I don't know, stop being so weird and zany and creepazoid. That would be really good. It would be helpful if instead of confusing these young folks, we were to remind them that everything is going to be okay. And although there's just like a lot of demons doing demon things out here in the world, that like it's probably going to be all right because there are some sane folks out there. You're just not seeing them in your day-to-day life because these information distribution holes are really where just like logic, truth, honesty, reason, and like self-confidence go to die. It's really weird. I've been doing a lot of browsing on the TikSnap live streams lately, and I've really dove in there because it's really an interesting way of discovering the pulse of the allegedly community, right? AKA the algorithmically tailored vision of what reality actually is. And the things that you give your attention to in this ecosystem, it repositions you back in that type of content pretty much every single time you log on. So I've been getting into these debate style streams where people are saying things that are just objectively not true. And I'm trying to just like pop in there as a voice of reason. And I'm often getting like gaslit and made fun of and whatnot by the variety of very, very sad people that are just like have seed oil like coursing through their veins and just have this artificial power trip that's been handed to them because they can mute and block people out of their stream. And then they hire or like employ a bunch of very, very sad people to moderate those content streams. And anybody that says anything that's outside of the norm, they just remove them from the chat. So they have this just fake sense of superiority complex, and really in the physical, tangible world, they're very sad inside. But in this world, they have 800 people watching, most of which disagree with them and are trying to comment. And they're just removing them from the chat strategically and talking about how they don't understand. And then they're like, does anybody want to debate me? And it's like, you silenced and muted any person that was giving you a logical debate, and you gaslit everybody else. And the only people that are still in here are 11-year-old sad people in their basement, but whatever. So it's really an interesting ecosystem that I've been playing in. And as a result, when you talk to these audiences, they just ban you and report you and say that you're saying misinformation or whatever, which is like passed down from the top from Prezi Xi. He's like, disinformation. And then all these like Gen Z seed oil boys that are just like sad, rolling down the street of sadness, clearly live streaming, on Valentine's Day, and really just any other day where human happiness would be occurring. And they sit on there for like 10 hours at a time. So it's very interesting. It's a very weird ecosystem. But the main reason why I wanted to come on today is I have a little bit of a theory about what's going on in the world, and I wanted to kind of just remind everybody, of course, that everything is stupid and everything is on fire, and there's really not much that you can do in this life other than do the best that you can to participate with logic and reason, but also, try to be happy and enjoy your life. But what I wanted to remind everybody of is kind of like, I believe that we are already in an actual war. And I think the United States is in this kind of like unspoken, unseen war with the other powers of the world, and they're doing their absolute best to not show us that it's happening. And I think that if you look with an objective view and actually pay attention to what's really going on in the world, you can see this clear as day. And I think that over the course of the next 24 months leading up to the next presidential election, we're going to see some very weird, very strange, and very peculiar happenings that's going to consist primarily of us getting gaslit and lied to by the people that are supposedly our leaders. And I think that everybody, even down to the people that are in our Congress that are supposedly there to represent us, are getting bamboozled by this illusion. And I think even being tricked out of representing us how they need to and are supposed to. And I think that it's quite sad to see. I was watching like a supercut of the Twitter Files debate, congressional, scream and squeal fest, and it's like there's people like MTG and Lauren Boebert and whatnot that, generally speaking, I like, but to me they lose sight of the big picture here. Because they both brought up specifically themselves in the testimony. And, I get it. I really do. And like Lauren Boebert, who I got to admit is like kind of difficult to listen to. I think that she like kind of screams unnecessarily, and it's like AOC flavored in my opinion. And like I said, I like Lauren Boebert, but it's really hard to listen. I just find it difficult to listen to her. It's not a female thing. It's just, I just don't understand why she has to do that. If she just like stays calm and just says the points, I think we would all get it. But they were like, they're grilling this guy, Yoel Roth, who was the, minister of truth, whatever, of trust and safety at Twitter. And this guy does not represent the organization as a whole. And somebody like a Vijaya Gadde, for example, is considerably more complicit in the silencing of American citizens. And it's like, they're all backflowing to a thing that we all know to be true. And as much as I love how these people are getting roasted, I'm not stupid enough to understand that nothing is going to become of these things, and nobody is going to be held accountable for these things. If all of these things done by the most educational, medical queef in the land, Dr. Anthony Garbchi, if all the stuff that he did and has gotten away with, and all the documentaries that clearly lay out the course of his entire career and what he's done and how many lives and people have suffered as a result of it. To me, this Twitter file stuff, as much as I'm here for it, is just a complete wheel spin waste of time that's not going after objectively how to move forward and go towards things. Because as much as it's cool that they're calling out all these people after the fact, without Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and without this information being brought to light as a result of that purchase, all of this stuff that we already knew that is objectively true, that now is verifiably true, would have never come out. And the exact same thing is currently happening on the Book of Faces, on the TikSnap, on every other social media platform, including the tube of you. And everybody, including Donald J. Ballpark, knew that this section 230 or whatever, where these platforms are artificially suppressing information that they don't like, that doesn't align with them ideologically, has been clearly happening for more than enough time. There's more than enough evidence. And this just makes it clear. If they were communicating with Twitter, they're clearly already communicating with all these other platforms. So instead of actually doing something proactive and making some actual physical, real, legitimate change about the platforms that are actually doing this now, even though we already have the evidence of what Twitter already did, then it would be able to prevent it going forward. So while they're squealing and yelling and putting on a show for everybody and acting sassy and saying sassy things and showing poster boards of their tweets that got silenced, all of us are getting clapped in real time today. It's just like such a perfect analogy of government and how it runs in general. It's like I said, I'm not trying to single out Lauren Boebert at MTG, but them specifically, they were like, did you silence this tweet that I made? It was a joke. Look, here's the tweet. And it's like, yeah, we know that. Everybody already knows that. And it's just like the American people, generally speaking, are not too concerned about like roasting Yoel Roth about him silencing Lauren Boebert's personal Twitter account. It's like there's a lot of other people that are considerably more significant than them, no offense, that got silenced, that were putting out a lot more credible information that hurt more people. It's like MTG's personal Twitter account being silenced so that she couldn't raise money for her election that she won anyways, to me is not as pressing of an issue as you silencing actual literal doctors that could have provided an alternative viewpoint to the people of the literal planet, and how many people ultimately had to suffer as a result of that information being silenced. So as much as I'm for it and like catch them with their pants down, I really just don't see how this is productive going forward. And I really don't think that anything is going to become of this squealing fest. So I'm here for it, but it's like, I'm also not, because there's a lot of other things that are happening right now in real time that nobody is addressing, that none of these things fix. And while everybody is squealing and hollering and making a scene about this stuff, nobody is taking any proactive motions going forward. It's just like, if Section 230 is so bad that all of these social media platforms are editing content and modifying it based on this arbitrary set of rules, write a book of rules that they have to follow that's enforced by the government, or shut up, because you're not helping anybody. You're just squealing after the fact. And like, if Yoel Roth does 5 years of community service, it doesn't change anything happening going forward. None of these things are proactive. Nobody's Wayne Gretzkying and skating to where the puck will be. They're just squealing about these things that happened in the past that they were not intelligent enough and sharp enough to understand was happening back then. And it's like all of us that have objectively no power other than the power of the vote and us squealing and screaming on here and in our local communities and in the hearts and minds of the people that we know and love. They have the power. You're the senator. You're the state representative. You're the person that has the ear of the majority or of the House of Representatives. You're the one that has the ear of the lawmaker of these branches of power. You're the ones that are in there that could actually do something to change this going forward. But it's like Lauren Boebert is like showing a tweet that she posted a year ago that got silenced. And it's like, I care, but how is this helping anybody going forward? To me, it's just a complete show and a waste of time, because nothing is going to happen as a result of this stuff. And it's like, we've known about Section 230, yet have any of these people have any of these people introduced any legislation to change that rule? Has anybody outlined a social media code of ethics and conduct that has to be followed by these large companies as to not suppress future information going forward? Has anybody done that? No. They've just squealed about it. And it's like, it just becomes more and more clear to me as each day passes that I align with no political party and no political affiliation. And it's so sad because even your supposed side of the aisle that's supposed to be fighting for you and freedom in America or whatever, it's like they constantly miss the mark, and they have a bad marketing and branding team of all the people that are employed by them, the comms people and all of the touch points and all of the stuff that they have, and they just flop repeatedly over and over again. If Section 230 is bad, figure out how to fix it or revoke that power or create a code of conducts and ethics that these companies need to follow and hold them to it. This after the fact squealing at the people at Twitter, to me, is not beneficial. Vijaya Gadde is rich. This woman is stacked to the gills. This woman has tens upon tens of millions of dollars. You think that she cares that MTG and Lauren Boebert squeal at her in some testimony? Is she going to get held legally accountable for it? Of course not. If Hunter get the docs from the garage, blow paint through a straw for a couple of million, if he can literally objectively break a federal law, if he can commit a crime and throw a handheld protection device into a dumpster after applying for one and lying on that form about whether or not he was taking some Parmesans, and he just doesn't get arrested, you honestly think that anything's going to happen legally to these people? Of course not. It's a complete waste of time. And it's made perfectly evident by looking at things like the House of Representatives voted 420 to 0 or 419 to 0 that the giant balloon is big and bad and a bad balloon. And we're all mad that you sent out that big bad balloon. We're all upset. And it's just like, dude, what a waste of time. What a perfect illustration of how much time and money these people squander that are supposed to represent us. And it happens on both sides of the aisle, and it's a complete horror show. And like, you know, it's funny because, you know, I spend a lot of time looking at what the leftists talk about and paying attention to their world because it's free comedy. And also, I don't necessarily disagree with every person on the left. I don't think that they're all wrong. I think that in a lot of ways, there's a lot of common ground between us, and we all, generally speaking, want the right thing. I think that we just disagree on how to get there. I think that the left generally believes that the government is the only way to achieve the ends that you seek, that they believe that the only person that can tamp down on all of this corruption and all of these bad things is some suit that supposedly represents us for 2 to 4 or 6 years. Whereas the right realizes that a lot of these people that are in there, those are the exact same people that are lying to us. And free enterprise and the free market is actually a lot better at regulating how things go than anything else. So it's like we both want the same thing, but on either side, there's always an indicator that your position is right. On the left, you see some corporation do some super dark, super nefarious thing, and it discourages you from believing that the free market can regulate anything. And then on the right, you see some politician do some absolutely insane backwards thing where they promise the world, gaslight you, and then it blows up in your face. So it's like we both generally believe in the right thing. And I'm not talking about the people that are completely insane. I'm just talking about generally speaking. Because I hear people on the left, I think that they do love America. I think that they do love this country. I think that they do love other people and care about people. And I think that their altruism is misplaced and misguided. But generally speaking, I do believe that our interests align more often than not. I just think that we disagree on how to get there. And we all get hung up on this like emotional back and forth. Like, it's like ping pong of who can say the dumber thing at the dumber time. And it's like, there's all these people on the right that say objectively insane things that are easy for them to pick on, and vice versa on the left. And ultimately it's a big trap because the people at the top of the pyramid are winning while everybody spins their wheels, paying attention to a bunch of stuff that generally doesn't matter at all. So we're all just lost in this game. And like nothing is more evident to me and obvious than this book that is being released by Thunberg, by Greta Thunberg, which I made a video about today. Greta Thunberg has written apparently or taken part in the writing of over 19 books. This woman, whatever, this person, I don't even know what you can call her anymore, birthing person or whatever. She's 19 years old and she's 20 years old and she's written or supposedly participated in the writing of 19 books. It's like 2 years ago, Greta Thunberg could not legally purchase a can of spray paint in a retail shop in America. She can't rent a hotel room. She can't rent a car. It's like she could only go to an R-rated movie 3 years ago. Yet she's going to gaslight you about science. She's not a scientist. But she knows the experts. And it's just like, who do you think is picking the experts that are in these books? And then she made this comment when she released the book today or whatever the other day. And it was like, don't worry, all the profits from this book, I'm not going to make any money. All the profits are going to the Thunberg Foundation or whatever. And then the rest of the profits are going to go to Penguin Random House, the publisher of the book, who have been the same publishers of all the books that she's published in the past. And if you go and look at her book on Wikipedia and look at the publisher and look at Penguin Random House and look at Penguin Random House and the history of this book publisher, and then look at the person that founded this book publishing company and where it goes back and who they're connected to, you see a very dark and checkered past. This is a multinational media conglomerate that's financing this book and profiting off of it. And all of these things are intertwined. It's like there are quite literally 25 companies that run the entire planet. It's like, and while we're all stuck playing around in the mud, all of these companies are profiting to a ridiculous degree. It's like they made money on oil when oil was hot. They cashed out of their oil and now they're in wind farms and solar and all this stuff that people believe to be so good and great. Meanwhile, we're over here mining all these rare earth minerals and stealing it from all these countries and committing all these atrocities all over the world to get all this, to create all these batteries, which we have really no way of disposing of or recycling. And who knows the toll that the world is going to face as a result of this. But people are so hung up in the altruistic, fake illusion world where they think that whatever Joey Basement dumps out of his mouth hole is just fact, when these people have been lying to us objectively and securing the bag and squeezing every possible dollar out of everybody all along. And I follow people like D.L. Hughley, who is like completely scraggled and off his rocker and like completely living in a dream world of magic where everyone is a victim while he lives in a $10 million house, has $150 million in the bank, reached levels of success that no white person that any person could ever reach, despite the fact that he is a person of color. And Joy Reid too. And it's like, these people are nothing more than instruments of the machine. They're collecting their good boy points, telling everybody that looks like them that they're a victim. And all they ever talk about every single day is how they're oppressed and how you're a victim and how you can't succeed without whatnot. Meanwhile, it's like you're making $10 million a year. You're one of the most popular comedians in the world. Like you've reached levels of success that 99% of people on the planet will never see. And it had nothing to do with your skin color. It had everything to do with your work ethic. And they're just lying to the youth. And it's just like, we're in this massive trap and everybody is just completely in an illusion dream world. And it's just so sad to see. And you're like, it's like, I can't help but laugh anymore because it's so sad how dark these people are. And it's like, I just think that it's really important to understand this very important thing, which is that the most significant contributor to a better world that I can see objectively is a nuclear family unit that stays together, that tells its children how to be an independent thinker, how to self-sustain, how to protect themselves, how to eat, what type of water to drink, how to stay physically fit and smart, and how to use your mind to understand how to think, not what to think. And I think that the youth is being sold a bad bill of goods, and whether we like it or not, these are the people that are going to supposedly run the world, And a lot of them are just getting the wrong message, and it's sad. Because what they don't understand is that nearly every single thing that we consume on a daily basis that has a transaction attached to it is artificially manipulated to extract value out of you at the expense of you thinking independently. It's like the name of the game for the global gaslight artists is to get everyday people, individuals, to outsource their discernment to some greater, smarter, supposedly, entity as it relates to the climate, as it relates to politics, as it relates to business, as it relates to your health. Every single thing that you see on a daily basis is intentionally designed to make you have some type of emotional reaction and then turn that reaction into an action that has a financial transaction associated with it. Because anything out there that tells you to be independent thinking, healthy, intelligent, questioning of your surroundings, and self-sufficient is like does not involve cash. Doesn't involve a transaction. So it just goes to show that, you know, I jumped in a TikSnap live yesterday that said capitalism is toxic. And I was like, oh, you know, okay. And it's not because these people actually believe capitalism is toxic. It's just that they don't understand what's out of reach. They don't understand what they haven't figured out in life, which means they don't understand money. They don't understand business. They don't understand capitalism. They don't understand how money works. And I think that a basic understanding of money and will help people understand not only the economy, but how the world functions, and generally speaking, what America is, aside from all the things that we love about it, freedom, free speech, 2A, and all that. But really, it's a business powerhouse, an economic powerhouse, and that is why we have so much prosperity. Because understanding money and loving how money is an instrument of freedom helps you be more aware to how they're gaslighting you with all this other stuff that doesn't do anything to help your pocket, because your pocket is ultimately your ticket to freedom more than anything else, in my opinion. And I'm not talking about mental freedom, and I'm not talking about your health. I'm just talking about objective, real world, in the group with everybody else. How does one become independent and free? They understand money, and they learn how to acquire it, invest it, grow it, utilize it, and pass it along. So there's this bill that has been proposed that Joey Baseman has been talking about lately called the junk fees bill. And just with a basic overview of this bill, it just goes to show how little people understand about business and how money works. And with each individual thing that gets brought to the table of how they can supposedly help America, it's basically what they're basically saying is, I know that somebody just stole $100 out of your pocket, but I'm going to help you save 22 cents. And I'm going to do it by saying that there's a guy out there that needs that 22 cents or he's going to get clapped. That's really what they're doing. So this junk fees bill, I would highly encourage everybody, including the leftists out there and the people that think capitalism is so evil and bad, to take a look at just this singular bill and understand what it's saying. And one of the things that it talks about is how one of the things that Mushmouth Joe said is that I'm not going to treat your kid like a pile of luggage. They can't treat your kids like luggage. And it's like, I don't know. I've never seen luggage in a seat. You know, I've never seen luggage have a seat on the plane, but apparently not allowing your family to sit together with you, which is literally objectively not that big of a deal or an issue for most of modern America, saying that you need to pay more money to sit next to your family is a really interesting thing to target. When there's so many other bad things happening in the world that they're like, they can't treat your kids like luggage. So here's what everybody needs to understand. When a airline charges additional money for somebody to select their seat, what they're essentially saying, or to bring on additional baggage, or to check baggage, or to board the plane early, or whatever, a change fee. What the airline is doing is they're saying each of these individual transactions that involve interaction with a human being, an employee, costs the company money. So as a way to reduce the costs for people that do not create these interactions, we're going to lower the price for everybody and itemize out these individual things so that if you don't interact as much with the employees, if you don't cost as much money, if you don't cause as much delays and all these other things that cost the business time, money, and headache and liability, that we'll pass that savings down to you and you'll be competitive. If there were none of these supposed junk fees, what would mean is that those fees would be absorbed and subsidized by all the remaining passengers, which means that if you need to sit 5 people in a row for your family so your son isn't a piece of luggage, then every single other person that's willing to sit alone in a middle seat wherever they put them now has to pay for you to sit with your 5 family members so they're not a bag. So your son's not a bag. So what it means is that they're telling these businesses how to run. And as a result of complying with all that, not only will they have to take those fees that they otherwise would have charged and put them into place for every single person to pay, so every single airline ticket is going to be more expensive now, there will be additional fees that will be in place as a result of the compliance needed to follow those rules so that they don't get fined. And all of the other things that have to change after they spent all this time. Well, having fees associated with your booking process on your website, well, that has to go away. Well, they have to modify that website. That involves development areas, testing, troubleshooting, figuring out how to recalculate all those costs. All of that cost has to be passed down to the consumer because they're creating additional red tape, additional regulation that makes it more expensive for them to do business. So these supposedly removing of junk fees of a family having to pay an extra $13 so their son's not a piece of luggage means that it's going to cost that entire family an additional $50 or whatever to bring that family now to the exact same destination that they could have if they had to pay junk fees, like their daughter is a bag. Joe Biden is a bag. That's pretty funny. So people just don't understand business. They don't understand that they're gaslighting you. It's like, yeah, my biggest concern is a family of 5 paying an extra $26 so that they can sit together when I don't think I've ever in my entire life seen a person be like, hey, I want to sit with my daughter. Would you mind changing seats? I don't think I've ever in my entire life seen a person be like, nah. And if they did, it's like slip them a twomper. You know, maybe they would just do it for $20. You know what I mean? It's like these don't need to be handled by the government. These don't need to be handled by the long pen 15 of the establishment. This is a waste of time. And all of these other things while you're suffering at home. You just bought a carton of eggs that's $373, but you saved 2 cents on an airline ticket. Oh, wait, I'm just kidding. You actually paid more because you had to pay all these garbage fees because all of these companies had to absorb all of these additional costs that come with it. No kid is a bag. It just shows how little people understand about basic economics and business and finance and how the world works. And another thing that they talk about is these fees in banking. And I know that I've touched on this topic before because I understand it very intimately because I used to work at a bank. I was a bank teller for 1.5 years. I got to see a lot of things. It was one of the most educational times of my life. I learned a lot about finance and how it works. I learned a lot about the banking industry, as it were, because I was inside it every day. And yes, I was a teller 1 at the largest bank in Connecticut. But it gave me a lot of information that I would have never known had I not been a banker. The vast majority of interactions that happen at a bank branch are a loss for the business. Every single thing that you do at a counter at a bank, almost every single thing that you do at the bank counter is a loss. Operating the branch is a loss. Every single thing that's there is there for one purpose and one purpose only: to obtain loan clients. A bank is entirely and wholly financed by loans, primarily mortgages. Mortgages are something that a bank is acquiring that is a long-term cash flow. It's a reliable cash flow because the bank will secure an amount of money for issuing the loan. And then the bank will make on the front end of that loan, the bank will make a lot of money. If you ever looked at an amortization schedule for a mortgage, you realize that in the first year of that mortgage, you're paying considerably more of an interest rate on that mortgage than that mortgage actually outlines. But when you break it out over the course of the loan, you're getting a certain percentage that if you keep that loan for the entire time, which very few people actually do. The vast majority of mortgages probably are between 5 and 9 years. What the bank is doing when it's acquiring that mortgage from you or those loans from you is they now have a unit where they can loan you this money, and then they can repackage and sell that mortgage to somebody else as a means of acquiring money. And then in addition to that, they can loan out money that they don't hold in reserves. So they can have there's this fractional banking system that allows them to loan out money that they don't even have. Thank you, Julie, for the Venmo. Appreciate that. And that is how a bank runs. When a bank has a retail client, your average everyday person that comes in, the vast majority of bank clients that I saw had less than $15,000 in their bank account. The vast majority of people that I saw, the ones that came into the branch, which let me remind you, are losers. Not losers, the people, they're losers for the bank. They cost the bank money. So somebody would come in and they would deposit, let's say, $180 in cash. I would have to count that cash. Maybe they had a broken bill. I had to replace that bill, file a report so that they could get that bill back. Count my drawer. I'm doing all this stuff. It would take them 5 to 6 minutes or 7 minutes for me at the counter. Hey, can you order me a new box of checks? Or hey, can you check my balance? People would literally walk up to me and check their balance. This was in 2006. And it's like telephone banking and app and internet banking was extremely popular. Everybody had it at that time. But people would literally come into the bank and they'd ask me for their balance. They had $10,000 in their account, $500 in their account sometimes $130 in their account. The amount of money that it cost the bank to just hold the fact that they had $100 in that account was a L to begin with. Every time they call in, there's a person on the phone. That person's getting paid by the hour. If it takes them 10 minutes and that person gets paid, let's just use an even number. Let's just say it's $10 an hour. Well, you lose 1/6 of that $10. It costs them $2 for you to talk on the phone to that person. Not to mention the phone system, the technology, and all the other things. And then they come in and they do transactions with me at the counter. It costs $1. It may cost $1 for me to do a transaction, for me to deposit their cash, give them the receipt, transfer money from checking to savings, which makes the bank no money, and it's ultimately an L. But what they're doing is they're building goodwill with the customer in the future so that their friends or family or maybe them down the line will put more money in the bank and ultimately create and obtain more loans. Anybody that's at the lower end of the financial spectrum, they don't discriminate against those people. They just say they allow them in for basically no cost at a loss to them, hoping that later down the line, they'll obtain their mortgage through that exact institution. That's why me, as the front-facing banker, I got to be friendly, I got to be nice, I got to be kind, I got to ask you how your day is, because it's relationship building that they're seeking, or opening a credit card. Again, it's all loan-based. The people that had the most money, there would be people that would come into the bank, attorneys, that would come in with a check for $450,000. They wouldn't even wait. They would give me a deposit ticket and they would dip. They'd be like, don't worry, I'll make sure it's in later. And they would just leave. They would come in and they would drop it off in an envelope or drop it off in the box. The people with the most money took up none of the bank's time, yet made the bank the most money. The people with the least money that would cause the most problems cost the bank so much. So these junk bills, this supposed junk bill that's going to crack down on these big bad banks is only going to make these banks not allow those people to bank with them. So he'll be like, oh, overdraft fees are so bad. An overdraft fee is a personal responsibility. If you can't figure out how much money you have in your bank account and you overdraft it, you should be responsible for paying that debt. Because a lot of the times those overdraft fees were never paid at all. There were accounts that I saw that would sit in the negative $250 for 10 years. And the bank has really almost no angle of recourse to come after you for $200 10 years later. They're never going to find you. They're not going to be able to get that from you. They could put a ding on your credit report, but those people usually don't even care. So it's just an L to the bank. And then when the bank gets sold or ultimately restructured with some other business, they could just wipe those away just because it costs money to carry them and carry the fact that that loss even exists. So if you come in and the government says that you can't carry these junk fees or you can't charge overdraft fees or this overdraft fee is too much, what that means is that a person that's prone to overdrafting the bank will not be banked at all. Or instead of having a totally free account where all they have to do is maintain, let's say, a $50 minimum balance or a $200 minimum balance, which is just a game so that they don't overdraft, or are not likely to overdraft. Those people will now have to pay a fee to bank with that institution, or as soon as they get a single overdraft, or if they ever got one in the past, the bank will say, we can't bank for you anymore. We can't be your bank. So all of these people, the underbanked, the people that Joey Basement is supposedly setting out to protect, those people will suffer as a result. They will be paying monthly fees as a result of keeping their account at the bank. They'll be required to hold larger monthly minimums, or they won't get any banking at all. So it hurts them. And it's just another perfect example of people not understanding how business and economics works, is that when the government gets its dirty, filthy paws in there, it has a way of having the opposite effect of what it originally intends, or at least what it says it intends to do. And it destroys the operation for the lower and middle class people, the people at the bottom of the totem pole that need it the most. I cannot tell you how many people used to come into that bank every Friday, filthy. Plumbers, electricians, construction workers, all the blue collar people that worked like a dog. They'd pull up to the window, exhausted, at 5:55 p.m. before the bank closed at 6 on a Friday. And they would cash a crinkled up paycheck that had oil all over it, and it would be for like $436 or $680, and it would be for 2 weeks. And it would say in the memo, 2 weeks or whatever. And it's like, those people will now have to pay a fee to the bank to bank there. Because a lot of them, what they did is they would take their check, they would cash 80% of it, take it in cash, and then they would leave $100 in the bank. And their account at any time would have just enough to cover their bills until the end of that month. And by the time they came in the following week, their account would have $74 in it. And these are people that are going to work every day. I'd see them at 6 a.m. taking out $50. And then I'd see them at 6 p.m. on Friday putting in $650. But these people will suffer as a result of these garbage fees and these lies that they're putting in there. Overdraft protection is a very basic service that the bank offered, at least the one that I was at, and most banks do, overdraft protection. What it does is it means that you have a savings account. That savings account has a couple $100s in it. And if your checking account overdrafts for some purpose, it will automatically draw that money from the savings account to cover the loss in the checking account so that you don't accumulate or accrue other overdraft fees. This is an inexpensive service that any person that was at risk of spending the $30 on the overdraft could easily set up. In addition to that, if you are not prone to, if you didn't have a long history of overdraft fees and you were to just ask me as the teller if I could wipe that overdraft fee, a lot of the times I could wipe the overdraft fee myself. And I was an entry-level teller 1 employee, or I could ask a teller 2, which was 1 tick above me, or a supervisor, and 9 times out of 10, they would just do it. In fact, of all the times that people ask for overdraft fees to be refunded, I can't think of more than a handful of times that they actually said no. Because remember, it's a relationship-based business and they're building a relationship. And if you're going to lose $30 to a person that's going to ultimately open a loan one day or open a mortgage one day with you that could make you $10,000 or $20,000, what's $30? So if you simply are kind and respectful and have a history of not doing that, and you ask bank manager or the supervisor or the teller if they could wipe that overdraft fee, the vast majority of times they would, or they would at the very least help you out with a product that would prevent you from doing that in the future. The bank is not as evil as they say. It's the people at the top that make the big decisions. Again, it's like people are tripping over pennies. People are tripping over dollars to pick up pennies because they don't understand the system. And they're mad at all the people in the middle, not realizing that all the people down here, all of us, we're all on the same team. It's the elite that none of us are paying attention to, that none of us are focusing our attention on. Those are the people that should be the focus of your ire and frustration. And the demons that they appoint to supposedly run or run our country and supposedly represent us, that they artificially plant there using large amounts of cash and secret shadowy backdoor deals in super PACs and all the rest. These are the people that we're actually up against. It's not your everyday person. And as much as I hate to admit it, and it's a low-hanging fruit trap that's extremely frustrating. It's like the leftists that you see squirming and squealing online are misguided. And a lot of them that are saying this stuff, it's just because they don't understand, or they've been emotionally manipulated to believe that that's the best way to do it. And like I said, I don't necessarily know that we disagree on the outcome. It's just we disagree about how to get there. And I think that a lot of the times the disagreement from the right and the left is actually a communications issue more than anything else. And this like hyperbolic emotional mudslinging in the halls of power, to me, is counterproductive to what we're really trying to achieve. And I think that we, and even myself, we need to get better at not squealing so much about all of the minions at the bottom of the totem pole that are all clawing to get theirs, while the people at the top are just laughing in our face. Because I think that the vast majority of people just simply don't understand business. And I heard a quote one time that 90% of people are employed. Not they all have a job, but they're employed, meaning that they're not self-employed. They're employed by somebody else, which means that they, for the most part, don't understand the functions of how a business works, what makes it grow, and who benefits as a result, because they'd be getting lied and gaslit to, because the supposed representatives, their supposed leaders, the people that are supposed to be doing right by all of us, are actually gaslighting them about who's really responsible for all the bad things that are in their life. Because a lot of the evil things, a lot of the bad things that the supposed corporations do are those corporations following the letter of the law set in place by those legislators. And it just is bad because they set the game up with twisted rules to begin with. The government creates monopolies. The government increases the costs that business have to incur in order to do business with everyday people. The policies that these people set out is a lot of the reason why these corporations are labeled as big and bad, because they always need a target of where to focus somebody's ire and frustration instead of themselves. And they're in and out like a revolving door. They go from the public service, from the public sector, whatever, over to the private sector real quick, and then they swap back and forth and sell. They're all intertwined. So really, I just think that we have bad leadership. And I think that the people that supposedly represent us are doing a really bad job of communicating what the pulse of the people really want. And people are getting hung up in the people, in the avatars of what they think these people represent. And they're not understanding that these are bad leaders. Now, one of the things that's been bothering me lately is like, people are very quick to turn on Big Ron as of late. And a lot of people are riding the Donnie train all the way to the station, and that's fine. I don't think that everything that Donnie did was bad. I'm not anti-Donnie. If he was the nominee, I would probably vote for him again. I don't think that he should be, but it's a conversation for another day. But this is something that I saw a leftist creator that I follow on Twitter talking about how Donnie had said that Rihanna's Super Bowl performance was the worst Super Bowl performance of all time and such and such and such and such. And it's like, to me, that highlights originally what got Donnie in, and that was 2016 Donnie, and that was effective at the time because it was something we'd never seen before. But it's the same song and dance that doesn't hit true to the same degree in 2023, 2024, and I just don't think it's going to work. And I don't think it does work. And as much as people keep trying to make fun of DeSantis and say that he's bad because of X, Y, or Z reason, and they come up with all of these things about why he's so bad, I think that the justification to why he's so bad is so misguided because you're falling into the exact same trap that the media sets and the left sets to smear a person's supposed character as opposed to the things that they're objectively accomplishing day to day. Donald J. Ballpark is objectively probably one of the most famous human beings alive. One of the most well-known people on the planet. Rightfully so. Good, bad, or indifferent. If you fancy yourself to be a statesman, a leader of people, a uniter, which is what you have to be, whether we like it or not, do you think that it is a productive use of the attention of the world to make a comment about whether or not Rihanna had a good Super Bowl performance? You could isolate specific things that maybe you didn't like about it, and that's fine. But again, does that matter? I don't think it matters. It's like, sorry, I just don't. I don't think that matters to the people of this country. And you could say that it's bad or whatever else, but to me, it's not leadership-like. It's not statesman-like. It's not what the people are worried about. I don't know that your average, everyday American citizen is like, yeah, go after Rihanna. All the culture warriors, all of the pundits are going to do that on their own. All of the people on social are going to comment on that anyways. That commentary and that dialogue is going to exist in the public square despite that. It's not a conversation that needs to be done by a person that's supposed to be or is vying to be a statesman or a leader of people, a policymaker, a uniter. Whereas on the other side of things, you don't see DeSantis doing that. You don't see him making a comment about Rihanna at the Super Bowl. You see him objectively putting policies in place to improve the education of young people, removing certain type of curriculum from the school systems, which everybody has identified to be a problem, working on the biomedical security state, and making it and putting in rules for banking institutions to not follow social credit score guidelines. He's appointing and hiring people that are high quality, that in a lot of ways have the medical interests of the people in mind. He's doing what the people of the state of Florida want him to do in a statesman-like way. And no matter how many times he keeps getting baited by Donnie and the media to participate in the smear, he's not falling for it. And I don't care what anybody says about he's a globalist or whatever they want to say. I'm just looking at these facts. It's like, is this person more likely to unite people that otherwise sit in the middle of the fence? I would wager that a large cohort of American citizens consider themselves to be middle because they don't want to be associated with the insanity of either side. And it's easier to say that. But they genuinely mean it because it's toxic. So they don't want to participate. So at the end of the day, they make a ninth inning decision about who they believe, generally speaking, has a higher quality character. And then it's a little bit of their policy direction and how you believe the country should be run. It's not what you said or what you did when you were 21 years old. It's not about who you commented on who was in the Super Bowl or the performance or whether you liked it or not. It's, do you believe that this person would represent a good leader right now for the things that interest me? And do I ultimately believe that the character and level-headedness of this person will lean decisions and policies favorably towards the way that I believe that the world should be run. And I think that when a lot of people look to Donnie now and they see things like that, as opposed to him leaning into all of the things that are at the pulse of the people's daily concerns, to me, it's a loss. And as much as people suggest that they have the inside track and Donnie's playing 700-dimensional upside-down chess, I'm talking about the everyday facts. This guy's a loser. This person's bad. Like, to me, it disconnects from the vast majority of people that could otherwise be persuaded to believe things the way that we believe them from a policy point of view, because the perceived statesman-like conduct isn't there. You're never going to convince a person that thinks capitalism is toxic. You're never going to convince a person that thinks that a kid should go to some therapist and they could tell them that they could be whatever they want when they're 8 years old. And then they could just completely change their physical appearance at 15. You're never going to convince that person to come over to this side of things because they're emotionally wrapped up in those decisions. It's not about the statesman-like. It's not about the uniting. It's not about the policies. It's so emotionally manipulated to one side that we're not going to convince those people. But the middle of the road people, and specifically, in my opinion, the youth, is where a lot of ground can be gained that is ultimately, I don't think, going to be gained by a character like Donnie, at least in his present state, based on the things that he's putting out into the world. And I think that it's ultimately counterproductive for all of the other productive things that, generally speaking, right and or conservative policies would create and help the world, and how they would help the world prosper. That's just my opinion. So as a result of that, I look at these two people and I'm like, Donnie's about to be 80. DeSantis is in his mid-40s. You got youth participating in cultural nonsensical nothing that doesn't matter. That's not pressing to the American people right now. DeSantis wins on that one as well. Objectively, the right handling of things when it comes to the biomedical state and the juice and all of the things that have come after what happened in that chaos, DeSantis wins again. Toxicity among the people. And I know that they're going to come for DeSantis. Don't worry, I understand that. Everybody knows that. But do they have as much ammunition as they have with Donnie? No, they don't. So he wins on that one. The primary location, in my opinion, that DeSantis loses is inexperience in foreign affairs. I think Donnie wins that and is probably one of the best foreign affairs, international policy presidents we've ever seen. He's definitely high on that list. But that doesn't mean that experience negates what would be possible with DeSantis and the conduct that he's holding in Florida. So to me, as much as I believe that Donnie may or may not, did, whatever, get popped, I don't necessarily think that he should just be served this as some debt that is owed to him. And as much as I think that a lot of what he did is great, I do think that it would be beneficial for the country as a whole, and generally speaking, the American people on both sides, to be led by a person like DeSantis at this current moment in time. So it's like, I don't care that people have such a visceral reaction to Donnie or to this commentary because they're on the Donnie train. But I would wager that, the reason people pay attention to me, and I'm not that big of a creator. I have a few 100,000 followers across my platforms. My voice is not the only voice of reason. I encourage you to think for yourself. But the reason that people listen to people like me and other people that create on here is because, we are putting in that time and discernment to consistently have, hopefully, what we would perceive to be the correct take. even if people generally might agree or disagree with it at that moment in time. So what I can tell you is, based on my travels, based on investing the amount of time into this, into understanding all of this stuff, and knowing that whatever my decision is emblazoned into the internet permanently, and I'm not going to remove it, as I have never removed any piece of content that I've put out, that this is my public position based on the information that I've seen. You could say that Donnie is in bed with the wrong people, and I could tell you that that DeSantis is in bed with the wrong people, and I could say there's a lot of people that are in bed with Donnie that are not as great as well. So it's like, if it's apples to apples, I'm just talking about what the public sees, because at the end of the day, the vast majority of people don't see as deep as we do, and those people need to ultimately be convinced to come over to your side of understanding, whether you like it or not. If you know that Big Ron is an upside down globalist and you saw it on such and such, it's like, okay, but have you done that level of research into Donnie? Have you criticized all of the things that he's done with the same veracity? I don't know. Have you? And then on top of it, will the average American citizen, will the average 20-year-old, will the average middle of the road, will the average moderate, will the average, I don't know which party I sit in, will the average non-voter be convinced that he's the right person to elect now, more so than they did before? That I don't know. So are you going to convince anybody to come over, or are you going to only renew the excitement of the exact same people that already voted, that may or may not have been enough to get it done? So it's like, I just think that DeSantis is objectively doing a very good job. And should he choose to throw his hat in the ring for the president, I think that he would be a great candidate, and let the best man win. But if I look at it objectively right now, based on how they are conducting themselves day to day, month to month, I think that DeSantis is doing an excellent job. That's my opinion. We will see as time goes on. Now, I want to get into the comments. I know some people have been asking questions and stuff, so I want to jump into the comments and interact with y'all. When I'm going on a monologue like that, it's hard to see the comments because it throws me off. So I want to jump into the comments. Before I do, I want to send a special shout out to Dead Pedal Coffee for sponsoring the channel. I want to give them some love. Go to deadpedalcoffee.com and use the code COFFEELOVER for 20% off. Support people that support the channel. Dead Pedal Coffee. Send some love to them. Go grab the coffee. I drink it every day. Big love to Dead Pedal Coffee. Thanks to the people that have been buying the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Mark Photos, Jiminy's Juniper, Brodo Baggins, Jen Golan, and Holistic Wellness from Within for the badges on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for contributing to the channel. It means a lot. Right now, we are live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Getter. So wherever your comments are coming from, I can see them. So ask away. James on Facebook says, "You see my comments. Will you respond?" I see your comment. That's the comment. I'm responding. What about DeSantis getting money from Democrats? I'm not sure what you're referencing specifically, but has any party, have other people not gotten money from any? I mean, here's the thing. Has any politician ever turned money down? I don't know of any politician that's been like, no, don't give you that money. So I don't really know that the people that give you money necessarily, the political affiliation of the people that give you money, I don't know that necessarily means anything. So if it furthers the ends, then I mean, that's a vague question. NDK said, when are the aliens coming? Hopefully soon, but probably not. They wouldn't want to come here because we're not doing well right now. Ronnie said on TikTok, dude, just saw your post on Greta. Hilarious. Thank you so much. Big facts, logical facts. Marnie said going to Florida on the 4th of July. That's what's up. Good. Welcome. Florida is lit. What are my thoughts on the derailments? I think that, well, certainly I think that they're hiding something, which leads me to believe that there's something a lot more nefarious in there than meets the eye. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something more nefarious built into those, and if they were intentionally sabotaged. I wouldn't be surprised if they were used as some type of distraction. But at the same time, I looked it up the other day. Over 1,200 trains derail in the United States every year. Over 1,200. I think it's like 1,500 trains derail in the United States every year. So, who really knows? But I think the real indicator of what's going on is that I thought we just invested $1 trillion into infrastructure. If people understood that a lot of those went to woke programs and not actual infrastructure, then a lot of these train derailments wouldn't be happening. And I think that a lot of it is just a distraction ultimately. And I think that a lot of people in Ohio are suffering and will continue to suffer as a result. And I think that their reaction to it and lack of commenting on it, to me, is a further indication that they really don't want people paying attention to that. Somebody said, I thought a Trump-DeSantis ticket would be phenomenal. Trump 4 years and then DeSantis for another 8 years. I think their dispute is fabricated. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with that logic. When has there been a Republican president for 12 years in a row? 3 consecutive terms in a row. I don't know that that's really all that common. I think that it's usually 2, then 2, then 2, then 2. That's pretty much how it goes. You really don't get a consistently Republican president back to back to back to back. It's like, how did the presidents go before? It's like it was George W. Bush, and then I forget who it even was. Then it was what, Clinton? Or no, it was original Bush, then it was Clinton, then it was George W. Bush, then it was Obama, and then it was Donnie, and now it's back to Biden. It's like, to think that we're just going to consecutively win 12 years in a row, I think is wrong. I don't think that that's how it would go. I don't think that the country would be run for 12 years by Republicans like that. And I think that if Donnie got another 4, that would guarantee that DeSantis would get an 8. I don't know that that works. So I don't think that logic makes sense. I think that they should both run against each other and let the best man win. I don't think that DeSantis should be on the ticket with him. I think DeSantis would be considerably more powerful as the governor of a state like Florida than he would be as the vice president. Somebody said on TikTok, consecutively losing the popular vote, though. Yeah, I mean, that's a funny disagreement, or that's a funny, interesting point to bring up, because you guys just don't seem to understand how the United States works. The country should not be decided by who wins the popular vote. There's a reason that we have the Electoral College, and it's a good one. A lot of people that have a problem with the Electoral College just don't like it because they lose from it. The popular vote is not the way of the land for a number of reasons, primarily to give more voice and authority to the other states that don't have as much population. The Electoral College is a good thing, and there's been a lot of back and forth between these two parties through American history with that in place. You guys just don't like it because you think that the people in Los Angeles, New York City, and Seattle and Chicago should determine who the president is now and forever. It gives more of a voice to the other states that don't have as much population. The electoral vote is a good policy. What's my take on Donnie? I just gave my take on Donnie. Yeah, and like if somebody says the juice saves lives. Yeah, maybe. I would say probably not, but maybe. Maybe if you're 79 and you have 3 existing comorbidities, maybe, but I don't know that every single person, including children, needs to take it. But somebody said on Facebook, what do you mean second? Why wouldn't you want the opportunity to vote? I don't know what that means. Did I talk about the Ohio incident? Yes, I just did. James on Facebook says, I want you to respond to my comments that people on the left are not well-intentioned but misguided. Neither is true. Nobody is altruistic. FDR got 12 years by brainwashing the American people. Dude, I understand what you're saying, James. I really do. But to say that nobody is altruistic, I think is incorrect. How could you possibly say that nobody cares about other people? I don't really understand that logic. People on the left are not well-intentioned but misguided. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of them are well-intentioned. I think that they're just misguided. You can't just say that every person that espouses to leftist ideals is evil. I don't think that they are. I think that a lot of them are misguided. I think a lot of them don't understand what they don't understand. I think a lot of people on the right don't understand what they don't understand. I think that a lot of people just don't understand. But I don't think that it's fair to say that every leftist is bad or ill-intentioned. I just don't believe that to be true. I think that there's a lot of leftist people, including my friends, that I would disagree with politically on lots of things that are great people. I don't think that they're ill-intentioned. I just don't believe that. Some of them are, but certainly not all of them. Somebody said, why are you pretending to use a microphone? I'm not pretending to use a microphone. I'm just not using a microphone on TikTok and Instagram because they are not connected to the microphone. The microphone is connected to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Getter, Spotify, and all of my podcasts that are audio only. TikTok is not using the microphone, so I'm not pretending to use the microphone. But thank you for the comment. It'd be a lot of money to invest in a microphone to pretend I was using it, but okay. Donnie gave us the poison. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of bad things that came as a result of that and how it was handled. Somebody says, if DeSantis runs, does he have to resign from governor first or only after he won? So I believe the last time that I checked on that, they were trying to change that law to allow him to run without having to resign. And that has happened in Florida before, where the law has been shifted. So I would wager that the people of Florida would be pro him not having to resign in order to run. But I believe as of now, he does have to resign in order to run, but I'm not sure if they won't be able to change that law. Somebody said, what is the dumbest comment you ever got on your feed? That's an impossible question to answer because I've gotten a lot of really dumb ones. Probably when people like think I'm controlled op or I get paid by somebody that's not you guys. It's like the RNC cuts me a check or like DNC or somebody pays me. So I think those comments are especially funny because it's just like anybody that's followed this channel for a long time has seen me from when I had 1,000 followers and come up one piece at a time, one piece of content at a time. That would be a pretty persistent controlled op if I was just like on here just lying to everybody all the time. That'd be a lot to maintain. And a lot of people have met me in real life. It's like I'm at these events, I'm out there, I was doing stand-up. I'm accessible. People can talk to me in real life, and it's like that's a lot of charade. That's a lot of acting. I don't know how any person could support that. Somebody says, surely nobody pays for these hot takes, LOL. Yeah, I mean, you don't pay for it, but some people do. But yeah. But unlike sad boys on the left that just silence anybody that disagrees with them, I'll let you guys can talk. You guys can talk trash in the comments as long as you're not spamming it. Then I don't care. But I'll say something like I'll be in a TikTok live with like some seed oil sad boy, and he'll just like I'll say something like I'll be like, how are you going to lecture people about your health when you don't look healthy? And they'll be like, you are, and it'll be like upside down, upset sad person 11164 has banned you from the live. I'm like, all right. Thank you guys for the roses and the love and stuff on TikTok. I really appreciate it. If you're on TikTok and you like what's going on here, please do me a favor and hit the screen a bunch of times. Get the likes up so we can get some more people. I would really appreciate that. If you're on Instagram and you don't already follow me, hit this little arrow right here. Make sure you follow me, please. James said, if you haven't read such and such, he went from a Marxist to a conservative to a libertarian, as did I. Yeah, and I mean, and that's cool. And like the libertarian way of going about things is cool. And I fashioned myself to be a little bit more of a libertarian in certain ways and a little bit more of a conservative in other ways. Generally speaking, I don't decide my position before I hear the argument. However, I will say that in the state of Georgia, the libertarians, the people that voted libertarian as opposed to voting for Herschel Walker, are the reason that Herschel Walker lost that race. And now we have Raphael Warnock and everything is garbage. So like I'm pro-libertarian, but not at the expense of having a Democrat in there despite that. Somebody says Joey Baseman is a body double. Okay, yeah, maybe he is, but that doesn't change anything. Then the meat suit that is supposedly running the country is doing a bad job, but Donnie eliminated 3 million jobs and increased the deficit by 600%. Yeah, I mean, we also went through a global garbage factory and the deficit increase. Every single president has increased the deficit. And if you actually measure the first 3 years before the clap came, the deficit increase under Donnie has been eclipsed by Joey Baseman in 2 years, and he's on pace to do considerably more. So I don't really know that I understand that argument unless you're factoring in only all of it in totality, including the shutdown, which has been a once in a lifetime situation that absolutely nobody has ever had to deal with, but okay. Somebody says you'd have a guy who doesn't even know how many states in the U.S. over Warnock. I don't really know what that means. Yeah, I mean, Herschel Walker is not a great candidate. Don't get me wrong. I think that he made a lot of blunders, and generally speaking, he's not that great of a guy, but I don't think that his policies are as bad as Warnock's are. So again, if you're looking at the person and the supposed alleged character of the person, not believing that anybody could change or do things that are good, or you're only focused on their character supposedly, then yeah, I get that. I don't think he was the best candidate, but he would have won if it weren't for the libertarian vote, just so you know. No new wars under Donnie. That's accurate. Like I said, his foreign policy was quality. Feder beef, me. I love how Feder beef comes up in the chat. Appreciate that. If everyone quit retail and fast food, fat America would be lost. I don't really know what that means, but yeah, I guess I got to say I love your videos. You're one of the few who isn't afraid to say what a lot think. Thank you so much for that. I also like Anomaly at Dream Rare on Instagram, one of my favorite accounts. I think probably one of the most based people on the internet. I'm also a really big fan of Mark Dice. I would highly suggest people listen to Mark Dice. He's on YouTube. Dude has the correct take 99% of the time. Somebody said, so many people rely on fast food and retail, yet don't believe those people should get paid. That's incorrect. Nobody believes that people should not get paid. 0 people believe that. Again, you just live in this illusion where you think that people are out here trying to destroy everyone when they're just not. They just understand how business works. And those people that you want to get paid are going to have no job soon because a computer is going to take their job because you've been trying to strong arm these businesses to force them to pay $15 an hour for a person to flip cheeseburgers, when in actuality, they're not worth that, which is why they don't get paid that. Employees get paid commensurate to the amount of value that they create the business. If you're not satisfied making $10 an hour flipping a burger, you should learn another skill so that you can get paid more. Those are intended to be part-time jobs for a very short, specific period of your life where you obtain other skills. If you obtain those other skills, you'd be out of that low-paying job very quickly, and you'd be able to make more. Those are not intended to be full-time careers. You're not supposed to be an entry-level burger flipper at McDonald's when you're 47 years old. You're supposed to develop some skills in between now and then. It's not intended to be a career. Love your videos, but you're looking puffy, brother. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Yeah, people are saying. Someone said, look at Seattle where they did the $15 an hour minimum wage. Yeah, what happens is all the mom and pop businesses that can't afford to pay that, they go out of business, and then the only thing that's left is the conglomerates, and then the conglomerates just fire all the low-paid workers that would have otherwise gotten paid 12, 13, 14, 15, and then they shoulder that work on the person that's getting paid 15, and they overwork them, and then they run through employees, or they just automate, and then all those people have no job at all. Anomaly on Instagram is at Dream Rare. He's on Twitter at Legendary Energy. Just go to dreamrarelinks.com and all of his stuff's there. One of my favorites. Sure. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, they cut hours as well. Yeah, exactly. So they cut hours. So you would have been getting paid $15 an hour, or you would have gotten paid $12 an hour, and then you would have gotten overtime, and you would have built up your skill set over time. But instead, they only give you part-time work. So now you have to work at McDonald's and Burger King and Subway and Dunkin' Donuts, and you're a part-time employee at all of them. So you don't get any benefits of being a full-time worker, and then you got to get retrained, which costs those businesses more money. The people at the bottom suffer, but people are so brainwashed by the emotional manipulation, by the theoretical altruism that comes from saying that a person that dumps fries in a box should get paid $15 an hour when the marketplace doesn't deem that they deserve that amount of money based on what they're able to produce. They're not letting the free market do its thing. They're getting their dirty, filthy paws in there, and the people at the bottom suffer the most. But they don't understand because they don't understand business. They don't understand how business works. They never owned a business. They never ran a business. They live in this fake world of fake altruism, and they just want everybody to get everything for free. They deserve $15 an hour. Yeah, well, their job's about to get taken by a person that has self-checkout, that's paying with their palm and getting a burger dropped to them in a bag out the window. You're going to pick it yourself right out of a job. And then all those people are going to be looking with their hand out to the government to get paid, which means it's going to get subsidized by all the other people that work. And all those people that would have worked, that would have liked to work, that would have been willing to work for $13 an hour or $14 an hour or $12.50 an hour, they can't work now legally because you forced them out of a job based on the decree of people that are manipulating the free market. And everybody at the bottom suffers as a result. And the only people that benefits are the people at the top. Because then the mom and pop business that can't afford to automate goes out of business. And then that mom and pop that would have otherwise been able to provide for their family and create economic prosperity in the neighborhood and give young people jobs and help them develop skills, they don't exist anymore. And now the only thing you got is McDonald's, Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, and Starbucks instead of having your local mom and pop business because they can't afford to automate. But a big conglomerate like McDonald's can take the L up front, finance all of that machinery because they got endless cash, and then they can go and say, oh, that person's out of business. Then they can buy their land or keep them out or whatever, absorb all their employees. Somebody said, learn about inflation, please. I know a lot about inflation, actually, interestingly enough, as made evident by the hundreds upon hundreds of videos that I've made about that specific topic in economic matters over the course of the last 2.5 years. Somebody said, I live with my mommy. I do. I live with my mommy. That's correct. I used to make fun of people that mentioned that the New World Order was a real thing. Did I? I don't recall doing that. Crazy how the train companies aren't paying their employees enough either, and look what happened. The train companies not paying their employees enough is not the reason why those things happened. There's nothing about not paying employees enough. A business is not incentivized for a train to derail. Obviously, they don't want that to happen because they lose all that product. They lose all the goodwill of the theoretical customers. But when the government anoints which business succeeds and which businesses fail, then they don't have to compete. If there's only 3 train companies and they don't have anybody to compete with because the government's given all their contracts, they don't need to hold themselves to a standard of quality. Because if they tip and derail and blow out some city and there's no penalty for that, there's no penalty in the free market, what incentive do they have to do good work? The government creates these problems. Everybody blames the businesses without blaming the lawmakers. They're not looking at the policies that create and foster these things to happen in the first place because the government, big government, bloated government, anoints which businesses win and which businesses lose. And as a result, it's not the best man wins or the best business wins or the best woman wins. It's the anointed business wins, and that's why the quality goes down, the cost goes up, and the everyday person suffers. Big government is the problem. That is correct. Somebody said companies are the problem. Okay, yeah, companies are the problem. You got it. It's always the companies, right? It's never the lawmakers. It's not the bloated government that's squandering all your money. They just take 30% of every dollar that you earn, and millions upon millions upon millions upon billions of dollars, and they ship it overseas to Prezi Green Sweatshirt instead of investing into how to not make trains derail 1,200 times a year. But yeah, it's the business's fault. Got it. Meanwhile, we just fired off a $400,000 missile that missed. But yeah, it's the business's fault. Got it. Somebody said my friend and his father worked as train conductors and they made bank. That's correct. Ma the meatloaf. Must be talking to our friends on TikSnap. Somebody said monopolies that buy the politicians are the problem. No, the government creates monopolies. Monopolies are created by government. Monopolies are not created by business. Monopolies are created by government. The reason that these supposed monopolies or these large conglomerates can buy the politicians is because the laws are set up in a way that give the politicians more power than the free market. If the free market had more power over whether or not that business succeeded, they would invest that money into benefiting their business in the free market. But because they can buy off a politician, because the laws are structured that way, because the politicians have an artificially raised amount of power, they're more incentivized to do that. People don't understand incentives. They don't understand how businesses run. Businesses exist to profit, make money, and self-sustain. A business is in business to stay in business. So the business looks at two scenarios. I can do good in the free market and the free market will benefit me, or I can pay less to some greedy demon politician that will give me the exact same effect as I would get if I was to use the free market way, the correct way. So because the politicians have this artificially raised amount of power, they take that money, instead of putting it into the business, instead of putting it into the free market, instead of competing for your dollars, they pay some greasy slime ball that got put in there by some other greasier slime ball who has an artificially high amount of power because he's a lawmaker, and then that lawmaker anoints that business more success through decree by creating policies that favor that business over the other business, which unnaturally affects the free-flowing capital that the free market provides. The market regulates itself the vast majority of the time. I'm not advocating for no regulation. I'm not saying that a company can take nuclear waste and just dump it in the river, but I'm saying that the regulations that they have, the vast majority of them, are over-bloated and unnecessary. And these monopolies are created by government, by the decrees and the policies that set up so that one business succeeds and one business fails based on who greases the pockets of the person that makes those policies. You blame the business when you should be blaming the structure, the government, the bureaucracy. They did Occupy Wall Street. What they should have done is Occupy K Street. That's what they should have done. They should have occupied Washington, not Wall Street. Somebody said capitalism will kill us all. Tell me you don't understand how the world works without telling me. Capitalism is the single most beneficial structure to ever lift more people out of poverty that's ever existed in the history of human existence. Capitalism has objectively saved more lives than any other financial system that's ever existed in the history of time. Capitalism is largely responsible for a lot of the creature comforts and freedoms that we enjoy today. The phone that you're on right now, the internet that you use right now, all exists because of capitalism. The social media platform that you're getting this information from exists because of capitalism. The shirt that's on your back exists because of capitalism. The house that you're in exists because of capitalism. Every single thing around you that protects you from an overbearing tyrannical government is due to capitalism. But yeah, capitalism will kill us all. Got it. The internet was publicly funded, yeah. The internet was completely publicly funded. What does publicly funded mean? like Verizon, a publicly traded company that raised money from individual people, taxpayers, investors. If the good of the, I don't think that the government should be helping finance anything, to be honest with you, but they do finance lots of things. And I would say that objectively helping to offer financial backing to companies that are building cell phone towers and infrastructure is better than sending it overseas to Prezi Green Sweatshirt. We squander a lot of money on a lot of stupid things, but to think that the internet is a entirely publicly funded enterprise, yeah, I guess if you're saying that publicly funded, meaning that individual people invested their capital to help it grow and spread, then yeah. But I don't know if you mean by publicly funded, you mean financed by government entirely. So somebody said capitalism prioritizes profit. It does not look out for the good of the people, because good of the people is subjective to your belief of what good is. Profit is something that everybody understands. It's just dollars and cents. Profit is what helps people grow economically, and it creates a lot of freedom and prosperity. So capitalism prioritizing profit is not all in itself bad. There's a lot of businesses out there that are very profitable, that donate a lot of money to charities, that do a lot of good in the world. So to say that profit in and of itself is bad is just flat out wrong. Profit only helps the capitalist. Yo, tune in, my guy. Everybody's a capitalist. Just in case you didn't realize that. Every single person is, or at the very least should be, a capitalist. So profit benefiting the capitalist means profit benefits, I don't know, you. But yeah, I guess it only benefits the capitalist, everyone. But yeah, okay, yeah. Capitalism benefits everyone, correct. Workers are not capitalists? Yes, they are. Workers are capitalists because a worker is competing for earnings. A worker is a capitalist because a worker is competing to earn more money. They're increasing their skill set so that they can garner more value for the business. As a result, they are rewarded with cash. If they work really hard and save up that capital over a period of time, they can invest that capital into starting a business of their own. People don't go to work so that they could just work for somebody forever. They should go to work so that they can preserve capital and then deploy that capital in ways that can make money without them having to physically go and work for it. So yes, they are capitalists because their labor is what they have to sell. That's their good. They're selling their time. They're selling their labor. Just like you would sell a bottle of water or a beverage or a microphone or a headset. Their labor is the capitalism. They are working to make their product more valuable. The way that they do that is by educating themselves. And the vast majority of education is available for free, 24/7, on a device, in your pocket, right now. So anybody that's out there that's going to play, woe is me, I'm a victim. Do you have YouTube? Yes, you do. You're lazy. Sorry, you just are. Don't know what to tell you. There are more remote jobs or remote ways to make money in the global economic system right now than at any time in the history of human existence. But yeah. Capitalism is bad. When you can make money writing articles for websites, learning how to code, learning how to build websites, learning how to do graphic design, video editing, content writing, copywriting. You could do VA work online. Any person could do these things. You could be a telephone worker. You could do tech support for Amazon. You could do any number of things while you sit on the toilet at your house. But everybody is woe is me. I got to get $18 an hour for flipping a cheeseburger. Stay a victim, stay weak, ask for the government to be your daddy, and you'll be poor for the rest of your life. But yeah, blame capitalism, guys. Good idea. Janitors are capitalists. Fry cooks are capitalists. All those people are capitalists. Maybe you don't understand what capitalism is. Have you ever heard of people risking their lives on rafts of garbage to get to Gine? Yeah, exactly. Capitalism is great. They strive off the misfortune. I don't even know what that means. You guys need to learn. I don't know what to tell you, but you need to learn. Like there's this one guy that's just writing, look up capitalist in caps 100 times in a row. Yeah, dude. Okay, I'll look it up. Keep spamming the same comment and I'll just block you. I don't care. Like I told you, I'll let you guys comment. You can shit talk me all you want in the comments, but don't spam the comments. If you keep spamming the same thing over and over again, I'll just mute you. I don't care. I could care less. The workers are capitalists. Yes, a worker is a capitalist because your labor is the product that you have to sell. You are competing with other people that have your same product to sell. You can increase the value of your labor by getting more skilled. You're a capitalist. Yes. Thank you. I am doing my best to speak straight facts. But like again, everybody wants to be a victim. Everybody wants to be a victim of the system. They want to look to the government for a handout. The government has to give me everything. It has to take care of me from cradle to grave. Housing is a human right. Education is a human right. Health is a human right. Pretty soon they're going to say a paycheck is a human right. You guys aren't even understanding what a human right is. We live in a society where you can determine your own destiny. Out in the free world, nobody cares what gender you are. They don't care how old you are. They don't care what color your skin is. They don't care about your background. They care about, can you produce the highest quality product or service versus the other guy or gal? That's all that matters. You can succeed in this country if you just work really hard and get good at something. All you have to do is develop a skill and consistently hone that skill over time so that it increases in value in the marketplace. You got to learn branding. You got to learn marketing. You got to be disciplined. You got to be consistent. You got to understand what the market wants and needs. You got to solve a problem. But everybody is a victim. Oh, it's because I'm a woman. Oh, it's because I'm this color. Oh, it's like, dude, like you're in a perpetual victimhood mentality. And while you're crying and squealing about how unjust everything is, somebody else that has less privilege than you and less access than you is working you, outworking you. And they're working like a dog and they're going to eat your lunch for the rest of your life while you're complaining, looking for a handout. And you're going to live a poor person's mentality, a scarcity mentality till the day you die. Good luck with that. Because there's people out here that live right down the street from me and probably right down the street from you that have a mortgage that's more money than you make in 6 months. And that's not because they're evil and that's not because they're bad. It's because they worked like a dog to figure out how to garner that much value in the marketplace. Those people are to be respected and revered. You should look at people like that as an inspiration for what is capable of your everyday person. There's a guy down the street from me that has a yacht that's 5 times the size of my house. When I was a young victim, when I was 23, I was like, who the heck does this guy think he is? And now I'm like, that dude has a sick yacht and he's got the same 24 hours a day that I do. He poops just like me. And if he could do it, I could do it. And the reality is that people that understand that are the only ones that will ever get it. Everybody else is stuck in a trap. And you're begging for Pete Buttigieg to get you out of it. You're clueless. Stay weak. Stay low IQ. Stay low energy, and you'll be broke the rest of your life. Keep being a victim. You're in your own trap. Janitors are capitalists. This guy's like, he's getting squirrely in the comments. He's like, he said janitors are capitalists. Janitors are capitalists because the janitor that just started probably is not paid as much as the janitor that runs the team of janitors. How did the guy that became the leader of all the janitors, that sets the schedule for the janitors, that is the team leader of 23 janitors at a large business, how did that guy become the leader of the janitors? He did the hard work at the bottom. He worked really hard. He proved his value. He or she, he worked his way up to a higher position to where he ran a team of janitors. Or he worked at a place where he was the only janitor. He developed the work ethic and skill set necessary so that he could go be a janitor at a high-end hotel, at a banking institution, at an office building. Or he figured out that when he was a janitor, he figured out that there was a certain type of broom that would always break. So he went home and he engineered a broom and he saved up his money over a long period of time and he built a better broom. And then he took that broom and he made it in his house, in his garage, and he figured out how to save up enough money so that he could buy a prototype of that broom. And then he prototyped the broom and he tested it in the marketplace, and he went to all of his other janitor buddies and he said, do you think that this broom is better than every other broom that you've used? And then he sold that broom to 50,000 businesses, and then he became a millionaire, and then he got a yacht, and then he hired you to clean it. That's what a capitalist does. But keep getting upset because you don't understand how business works, my guy. There's plenty of historical precedent to show how people have raised themselves from poverty to great success by being a hard worker in a capitalist free market. But it's like, people think it's like, oh, a janitor's not a capitalist. What's a janitor then? A socialist? Is that what a janitor is? Why are they going to work? Why don't they just collect food stamps, sit on Section 8, and wait for a handout for the government? Why do they go to work? What are they working for? How is that not a capitalist? Thank you, High Cotton Collection. Appreciate it. Workers aren't capitalists, says a person that doesn't understand business. Okay, dude, you're right. Workers aren't capitalists. Workers are just what? What are they? Robots? Yeah, and Shark Tank is just one cross-section of all these people that have created success from nothing. It's a story as old as time. It's the American dream. She invented a mop and sold it on QVC. Yeah, love that movie. Incredible. Thank you, Mimo Joanna. Somebody said, what did you invent besides talking? You don't have to invent something to be successful. But I invented this podcast. I invented this channel. I invented this t-shirt that I'm wearing that other people decide to buy with their own free will. That's what I invented. I invented a lot of things that I used in my business. You don't have to invent something to be successful. You don't have to invent something to be a capitalist. There's a guy that owns a shoe store. What did the shoe store guy invent? He didn't invent anything. He just figured out how to sell shoes. You don't have to invent to believe in capitalism. Everyone can, somebody said you can offer a service, LOL. Anyone can offer a service, heads up. Walk down the street and wash cars. Very simple. Capitalism is a what? I invented an echo chamber? Yeah, okay. Well, you're in it, so it's obviously not an echo chamber. If you disagree with me and you're in my echo chamber, then obviously it's not an echo chamber. But yeah, I guess, is it an echo chamber because the people that like listening to me are here agreeing with me because they like what I have to say? Is that an echo chamber? Then isn't everything an echo chamber? That's like going to a Chris Brown concert and everybody's listening to Chris Brown. And it's like, Chris Brown created an echo chamber because everybody likes this music. It's like, yeah, if you go to a concert that he's at, if he was to walk down the street and blast his music, not everybody would like it. So which is the echo chamber? Is it because people like this? You're here and you're not in the echo chamber. So is it an echo chamber? I guess. Thank you, Arnie Kens, for the badge on Instagram. Appreciate it. Thank you. I don't like listening to you, says Jenner. Yeah, you can leave the chat. There's an X right there. Leave the chat. Don't care. No one will care. Somebody said, I don't know who you are. Is being ragey your thing? Yes, raging is my thing for sure. I love a good rage. Somebody said capitalists own businesses, not work for one. Then that just means that the only people in the entire world that are capitalists are people that own businesses. How do you think they owned businesses? How do you think a capitalist owned a business? It's like, dog, can you please, like, can we scroll back? How do you guys think businesses start? A business starts by a person working for another person to earn cash. They save that capital and then they invest it into running a business for themselves. That's how businesses start. Businesses are started by somebody selling their labor for money and then saving the money to buy products or goods or create a mechanism that they can sell somebody else's labor or a good. Businesses are started by people that preserve capital. Everyone is a capitalist. That's it. The only people that aren't capitalists are politicians. James says capitalists employ more people than the government. Yeah, exactly. And capitalists should employ the majority of people. Somebody said, what labor did you start? Well, I've sold a lot of t-shirts, over 3,000 orders of t-shirts and hats. Somebody had to sew that t-shirt, print that t-shirt, ship that t-shirt. I've paid FedEx, I don't know, 3,000 times. Who do you think delivered those packages? You think they just fell out of the sky? A stork delivered them? Who do you think made these shirts? Who do you think printed these shirts? Who do you think fulfilled them? Who do you think did customer service? That's production. Where did I get this microphone from? I bought it. Where did I get this from? I bought it. Where do you think all this stuff comes from? The monitors behind me, I had to pay for those. Like, what do you mean? I created a mechanism that I could sell my voice. It's called radio, podcasting, television, entertainment. Just because you can't fathom and understand how basic business works doesn't mean it's not working. It just means you don't get it. It's okay though. You will understand eventually. What was my parents' monthly income? I'm not sure. My mom, when I was a kid, delivered newspapers, which I don't think was a very high paying job, but that's so she could stay home with me and my brother while we were growing up. My mom was a maid. She cleaned houses herself while I was a kid. I would sit in the living room of a house while she would clean it for somebody else. Again, probably not a tremendously high paying job. My mom was a bank teller for a good chunk of my life. A bank teller makes, generally speaking, pretty much minimum wage, usually less than $10 an hour. Now maybe $10, $11, maybe $12 an hour. That was my mom. My dad was in furniture sales. He sold furniture. He sold office furniture. I would say probably made maybe six figures for a few years, maybe a bit more than that, but never more than $500,000, never more than 4, probably never more than 3. But my dad made a good amount of investments in rental properties and real estate and did pretty well in those. And they hustled and they worked hard and they deserved it. But I didn't come up from some upper class wealthy background. I came from the same place as most other people. 6 figures, your spawn point was privileged, unlike most of Americans. No, my parents just worked really hard. Nobody gave my dad 6 figures. He worked like a dog. And when I was a kid growing up, he worked a lot. Thank you, Vanessa, for the Venmo. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Look, it's capitalism. Vanessa decided that sending me a Venmo was a worthy investment because she believes the value that I created for her life right now is beneficial. So she decided to take the hard-earned money that she had and send it to me because she appreciates the content on the channel. That's capitalism. As a result of people like Vanessa and so many others, it enables me to spend more time producing this type of content. That's how the free market works. Somebody's like, it's like, oh, you came from a point of privilege. Why? Because my parents worked really hard and stayed together my whole life? Is that privilege or is that discipline? It's like, should I be punished because my parents worked hard to give me a better life than they had, and their parents worked hard to give them a better life than they had, and then their parents worked hard to give them a better life than they had, and then their parents worked hard to give them a better life than they had? I should be punished for that? Is that a point of privilege, or did I just have a lineage of people that worked really hard? It wasn't because of their skin color, if that's what you're getting at. Thank you, Jeremy Lane. Appreciate it. That's fortunate and blessed? Yeah, I guess. They decided to be disciplined in their time and their work ethic. They decided to teach me discipline and work ethic. And I have prospered as a result of that work ethic because I've worked really hard for it. And you can do the same. All you got to do is not be a victim and work really hard. That's it. Congrats on having a system that didn't work against you. Okay. Stay a victim, though. Be a victim for the rest of your life. Blame the system. That's why you're broke. Because of the system. Got it. Somebody said, what value am I bringing here? None. As if Italians didn't struggle. Exactly. My great-grandparents came here from Italy, didn't have much. My grandfather worked like a dog. My grandfather was broke in the Great Depression. His father was a barber. I don't know what his mother did, but my grandfather's family did not have a lot of money. My grandfather's father started a barber shop. Later in life, he actually ended up dying of lung cancer. And the family did not have a lot of money. They got completely blown out during the Great Depression. And my grandfather told me as a kid stories about how they would go to boil some pasta on the fridge or on the stove, and they'd have to put a nickel in the gas meter out in the front of the house, and they could only get the water to boil halfway, so the pasta would be hard. And he would eat hard, cold pasta for dinner in a cold house in Connecticut. And then my grandfather was a stonemason. He worked on a construction site like an animal for the better part of his life. And my grandfather worked like a dog for decades. And eventually he became a foreman. He started laying bricks, brick by brick, mortar, brick, one at a time, building hospitals, slugging it out like a beast so that my grandmother would not have to go to work and so that she could take care of the kids. And she did work. She was she was like a bookkeeper at a gun manufacturer in Connecticut called Remington Arms. My grandfather got drafted into the military, but didn't actually have to serve. The war ended right before he got sent away. And my grandfather was a stonemason, and he worked extremely hard for an extremely long time until he eventually became a foreman. That's a point of privilege? No, that's a man that broke his back to give his family a better life. So if that's a point of privilege, then I don't know what to tell you, man. But nobody values that. Nobody values hard work. They just like to blame the system. They just like to blame something. Oh, it's because of this. It's because of that. There's a lot of successful people that look like you. I don't care what you look like. You're just living in a dream world of victimhood magic, where you think that everybody's got a chip on their shoulder, or no one has one except for what? A white person? Okay, yeah, Italians didn't work real hard. I do love all the very, very sad people in the comments on TikSnap. They're like, so that's the thing about TikTok, and that's why I like being there, because I feel like I can hopefully change a few minds there, because the victimhood mentality is so pervasive, and they love being in this like hive mind groupthink, like reciting all of the talking points that are served to them by the people that are supposedly their leaders, that are ultimately destroying them far more than any of the capitalists are. But they're just like, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. It's like, are you sure about that? There's a lot of titans of business that look like a lot of you. The highest income earners in America are Indian people. The second highest earners in America are Asian people. Are those people white? Are those white people? Did they come from a point of privilege? Or did they just have a strong nuclear family unit that prioritized hard work, the nuclear family, sticking together and working really hard and getting educated? Or is it because of what? What is it? Because they're white? Is an Indian person white? Is an Asian person white? Is that white? What is white? I forgot what white was. Somebody said there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. I feel really bad that you actually believe that. The vast majority of millionaires are self-made. In fact, I believe something like 86% or 87% of all multimillionaires are self-made. Certainly billionaires. I think in the high 80s. It's like 85 to 87% of all, or 80 something percent of all billionaires are self-made. And millionaires, I believe, is similar. Somebody said, I'm self-made. I make over $1 million a year. No, you're not. Remember? Because there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire, according to like user 56777, which has like an upside down giraffe on a skateboard in here that's feeling sad because they think that a socialist world would be better. When really they're just upset because they feel like they've had a chip on their shoulder because they exist. But okay. So many victims. So many victims. Somebody said, are you short? I act like a short guy. Yeah, I'm 4'3". Somebody said, when are you and Tommy Vex going live or on another podcast, please? Whenever he wants. I'll go live with Tommy anytime. No, I like the victims because it's funny because they're just thank you, Will, on Facebook. Somebody says no such thing as self-made. Okay. All right, guys. I feel bad for you guys, honestly. I feel bad that you would feel that way about society and reality. I feel bad that you're trapped in this ideological prison where you think that everybody's out to get you. It's truly sad. Thank you, Mark Ricow. There'll always be victims, yeah. Una Carmen, love your lives with Ian. Yeah, I got to go live with Ian again soon for sure. There's no such thing as self-made because everyone has had help along the way. Yeah, but dude, again, it's like you're getting into this like word salad argument where it's just like everybody had help along the way. What does that mean? That there's a lot of people that didn't have help that still succeeded because they made a product or service that people really liked. It's like if the product speaks for itself, the service speaks for itself. There's a lot of people that didn't get handed anything, that didn't get any assistance whatsoever, that created a product that was high quality that people wanted to buy. And they sold a lot of it because people liked it. Not everybody got help along the way, or I don't even know what help you're talking about. It's so arbitrary. Glansberg trolls in the chat. Yeah, everybody's getting Glansberg for sharks. Somebody's like, feel bad about the face on the t-shirt. Yeah, it sold like thousands of dollars of these t-shirts. But yeah, I mean, I should feel bad about it, I guess. I don't know. I just think it's hilarious that people have my face on their shirt. I think that's kind of funny. But I would wager that people probably haven't paid to have your face on their shirt, which is fine, but must be because I'm white. Must be white. Must be because of all my whiteness. It's so funny. The Instagram comments are so based, and the TikSnap comments are so like sad and victimized. I own 2 shirts with your name on it. I wear them proudly. Thank you, Una Carmen. Appreciate that. You're not white, Bobby. You're brown because you're Italian. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care. I don't think it matters. I think that it's sad that they bring that into the equation so much when it is pretty much irrelevant. Randall Carloan, I don't know. Somebody said eat the rich. Yeah, eat the rich, all right. Even if you took 100% of the wealth of the 100 richest American citizens, if you took 100% of their wealth, it would only finance the government for 1 year. But all right, guys, eat the rich, I guess. Randall Carlson, I don't know who that is. Somebody said, my dad knows this guy, and I'm starting to get secondhand embarrassment. I don't really know what that means. Thank you, family of hounds. People love being victims. That is fact. Sports ball predictions were on point. Yeah. People like, did you bet on it? I don't bet on sports. Who's my least favorite member of Congress? That's tough. Cori Bush is pretty high up there. I think she's in over her head, and I think that Ocasio bothers me the most because she's just really uninformed, but she squeals really loud. I think Mazie Hirono from Hawaii is pretty off her rocker. I think what's her face? Who's the one that squealed so much, and her district is like garbage. She was like, if you see a Republican at a gas station, you cause a scene. I forget her name, but she's pretty bad too. I think there's a lot of bad Republicans too. Maxine Waters, yeah, Maxine Waters is terrible. Oh my God, Maxine Waters is terrible. Mazie Hirono is terrible. I hate Mitch McConnell. I think Mitch McConnell sucks. I think Ocasio is bad. I think Bernie Sandbags is really bad. Bernie Sandbags is very bad, in fact. I think Adam Schiff is pretty terrible. I don't like Gavin Newsom. Ilhan Omar is not good. Pramila Jayapal is not good. Lindsey Graham, I also hate. Mitt Romney is terrible. Shifty Schiff, yeah, they're all bad. Somebody said he's only talking about women of color. Okay, dude. It's like, yeah, that's why I don't like them. Keep living in your dream world. I could care less what they look like, what color their skin is. Who cares? Nobody cares about that. The only people that care about that are people like you. It's like, none of us think about that stuff. We don't think about people through the prism of race. It's like, we just think about people that we don't like. It's like, if every person that I thought was bad at their job had red hair, that doesn't mean I hate people with red hair. It doesn't mean I'm biased against people with red hair. It just means all the people that are bad at their job have red hair. And I don't like them. They just happen to have red hair. The fact that they all may fit into some class that you feel like is a target of mine is because you live in a sad dream world where that's the only thing that you can imagine people think about, because that's all that you think about. People project. You're accusing me of the beliefs that you have inside because you feel bad. So you try to project this type of artificial superiority on me, like you somehow have it better because you can identify that it's because of this reason, which really is how you think about the world, not me or them or the rest of us. Liz Cheney is bad. Swalwell is also terrible. Yes, I agree. Carmella. Somebody said Obama was the greatest president of all time. Yeah, Obama was better than George Washington, for sure. 100%. Definitely better. Got it. Thank you, Jessa. Washington owned slaves. Yeah, I mean, so did a lot of people, but I don't think it's fair to count out all of the good that a person did because of the generally culturally accepted behaviors at the time. Not to say that it's not bad, but to suggest that George Washington was not a great man that did many, many great things would be an injustice to him. Just because of this one thing that is objectively bad, but you can't hold them to the standard of today's modern day. But you guys could feel free to carry that for the rest of time if you want. But it's not going to change the fact that George Washington was the father of our nation. And without a human man like George Washington, regardless of what you believe is incorrect that he did now, looking in hindsight 200 years later, you would not be free today if it were not for him. But yeah, be mad at him, I guess. George Washington, he cut down the cherry tree. That's anti-cherry tree. Somebody said, if you have student loan debt, you're a modern day economic slave. I don't think you're a modern day economic slave because you chose to obtain that student loan with your own free will. Nobody forced you to take that debt. Thank you, Christina, for the badge. Really appreciate it. Nobody forced you to obtain college debt. If you obtain that debt, you better hope that you worked hard enough to obtain a degree as a result of it, and that degree was enough to generate you in a series of skills that allowed you to earn enough money to pay it back. It does not make you an economic slave. It means that you may or may not have made a good financial decision for yourself, but you chose that decision with your own free will, which is not slavery. I understand what you're trying to say, but I do not agree. Jay Schmidt, the aliens most dolphinitely do follow me for sharks. Somebody on TikTok said, I'm from the Cherry Tree Association and you are being very disrespectful. Ah, that's funny. That is a funny comment. Somebody said, remember when you went on live with Harry and got humiliated? Yeah, they really owned me, right? The girl that was squealing that Joe Biden is her grandfather. And I don't understand capitalism, even though she's 24 and is going to college because her business professor told her something. She's like, have you run a business? And I'm like, yes, for 15 years. And she's like, well, my business professor told me. It's like, cool. Remember when you got owned? It's like, yeah, totally owned. Remember when you said the truth to people based on your life experience and knowledge of finance, economics, business, and the free market, and those other people didn't agree with you? You got owned. It's like, did I? Because I didn't have to go in there. I just felt like there was something that those people could learn. And honestly, I think that they did learn something. They may not agree with me, but they can't unhear what I told them. And that's the whole point. Because I was just trying to help people see a different perspective. That's why I follow Harry. That's why I follow Democratic creators, because I want to see their perspective and see if I agree with it. I don't agree with it 99% of the time, but it gives me a different perspective as to how they view the world. I do think that it's important to follow people that you disagree with. It's important. Somebody says you use the kids argument against kids that are more educated than you. Just because you're going to college doesn't mean you're more educated than me. Just so you know. Just in case you wanted to know, college is not that great of an education for lots of businesses. If you have an entrepreneurship degree, and I've been an entrepreneur, pretty sure we have an equivalent amount of education at the very least. But yeah, I have a better education. I know a lot of people that have a master's degree that make a fraction of people that barely have a high school degree. So what are we looking for with this education? Are we looking to just be smart? Or are we looking to figure out how to prosper and protect our family and financially insulate ourselves so that we can stay healthy and protected for the rest of our life and protect our family and our interests and our parents and our future children? Who's more educated? It's like, do we all have the same target in mind, or like, what are we doing? But yeah, you get a master's degree. Good luck with your master's degree. Have a master's degree and $187,000 of debt, and you tell me that you're more educated than me. You could tell me all the way to the bank, and we'll see who wins in the end. And I hope you do. I really do. I hope that you win. But I didn't start 180 clips down. I took that money and I invested in a business, which maybe was a good idea. Maybe it wasn't. But I haven't had a boss for 15 years. I haven't set an alarm to wake up for work in 15 years. I haven't worn anything other than gym shorts around my house every day for 15 years. And to me, that's wealth. That's the wealth that I wanted. If that makes me uneducated, then call me uneducated. Thank you, Christina, for the badge again. Appreciate that. Clearly, you didn't do well because you're on TikTok with 70 viewers. Yeah, I'm with 84 viewers right now after I've been live for 2.5 hours, and it's 12:45 in the morning. But yeah, it's because I didn't do well. Also, I'm not just on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Getter, and Twitch. Somebody said you took out a PPP loan. I did not take out a PPP loan. I got a PPP check from the government because I legally was entitled to one because I had employees, and it was forgiven by the government. I didn't make them forgive it, and it wasn't a loan. It was a loan. It was more of a grant than it was a loan. And I was lucky, if you want to call it lucky, to run a business that was eligible for such a payment. It was like $3,000. I got a $3,000 grant from the government. Yeah. Oh, no. Somebody said you made a t-shirt business with ugly faces on it. Yeah, hell yeah. Ugly faces all day. My face, ugly. Super ugly. That's why I did it. Because I was like, this is such an ugly face that people just might buy it. And they did. It's crazy. Thank you, Tiffany's Truth, for the badge. And look, people didn't buy the shirts because I forced them to. People bought shirts because they wanted to support the channel because they liked it. Thank you, Margaret, for the Venmo. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Appreciate it. Somebody said, you accepted money from the government. You're a socialist. Yeah, I mean, I pay taxes, and they gave me some of my tax money back. So, yeah, I guess that makes me a socialist. Thanks. Amazing. Appreciate it. Why am I explaining myself to these soy-fed kids? I don't know, because I'm trying to change their mind. What's the end game of capitalism? An increased quality of life for all people of the world, individual, personal independence and prosperity, and a continually expanding economy that has a higher quality of life for more people. That's the end game of capitalism. Somebody says, you don't like soy? LOL, we had stir fry tonight. No, I don't like soy because I don't believe it's very good for your body. But yeah, I mean, you can have it. Mom and pop shops with no employees got nothing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies that didn't get nothing, yes. What am I grateful for? My family and my health. And being alive right now. And you guys, I'm thankful for you, everybody that's watching, even the ones that don't like me. I think it's important. I appreciate it that I can press a button at midnight and hundreds of people will watch, and then tens of thousands of people will watch it later. That is inspiring to me, and I'm very thankful for that. The best economic system is one that tempers the good from capitalism and socialism. I don't think so. I think that socialism just in general is bad. And I think there's a lot of things that the government does right now that are socialist and should not be done. So. Somebody said, I like you. You have helped me through these crazy days when I thought I shut the front door. I can't take it anymore. Thank you. Thank you. RNC on YouTube. Appreciate it. Do I think Jilly B and Krusty's husband spent V-Day together? Probably. Highly probable. Highly probable for sharks. I would say high possibility. Somebody says socialism in general are things like police, fire department, military, NASA, hospitals, public education. I mean, public education kind of sucks. A lot of hospitals are private, so I don't really know about that. NASA does a garbage job, and that's why Elon Musk, a private company, is been able to do their job for a lot cheaper. Police, fire department, I mean, military, not really. I don't really think that's socialism because we all contribute to the military. Fire departments are largely volunteer and paid for by local communities. Same with police. So I don't really know about how socialist that is because people are contributing to public services, public services and things like that. I don't really know that you would consider police department socialism. I don't think that's a fair characterization, but please get a dictionary. Okay. How do I get a dictionary? Is the government going to give me one for free? Or do I have to be a capitalist and buy it? So evil. So evil. Well, John came. John came. You can send me one? Yeah, send me one. Go to my link tree. My mailbox is in the link tree. Go to link tree and go to the bottom. Go to Contact Bobby and send me a dictionary, please. John Kerry. When you're in doubt, save the planet with John. Hop on your ketchup torpedo and fly through the sky to tell everybody about how jets are poisoning the sky. John Kerry. John. Aren't all governments run by secret societies? Yeah, probably. John Kerry. John Kerry on his wife's ketchup torpedo that he married into. He married into a ketchup family. John jumped on the right torpedo and rode the ketchup all the way to the White House. He's the climate czar. John. John Kerry. A Heinz torpedo. On his ketchup jet. A big thanks to the badge people on Instagram. Thanks to Mark Photos, Jimmy's Juniper, Proto Baggage, Jen Golan, Holistic Wellness, Arnie Kens, Jeremy Lane, Christina Kian, and Tiffany's Truth for the badges on Instagram. Thanks, guys. And thanks to the people that sent the Venmos. Really appreciate it. Heinz hot dog. Somebody said Social Security is good too. Social Security seems good, but it's actually really not. Social Security actually kind of sucks, and it'll be bankrupt by the time somebody my age actually gets a chance to cash in on it. Social Security is basically insolvent, and will be upside down in the next 10 to 15 years financially. It'll be upside down. And Social Security, in my humble opinion, should probably be optional. You should be able to put it into a private investment fund. There's a lot of other ways to do it. And I think that Social Security, generally speaking, if you were to take that money and invest it independently on your own, thank you, Baker Minerals, for the badge, that money would be worth a whole lot more money later in life. But it's basically like a Ponzi scheme. So Social Security is like kind of a raw deal. It's good, sort of, but they're like forcing you to save, which is like kind of good, sort of, but there's a lot of other better ways to do it, in my opinion. Somebody said, aren't you 59? No, I'm 73. You should be doing your own investing for retirement. I agree. What's my opinion on the Eagles game? I think that last call at the end of the game was a bad call. Somebody said Social Security is insolvent. Yeah, it will be. It'll be financially upside down in like 10 years. Quick Google search contradicts you. Oh no, Google. Oh. What in Google? Google said. I'm 35. What are you, 64? Yes. Google. Somebody said, if you haven't noticed, there are some people that are smarter than you. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are smarter than me. That's not telling me anything new. Thanks, Dana D. Appreciate it. Jennifer on Facebook, no. Some people are smarter than you. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are smarter than me. I would say that most people are smarter than me, actually. Somebody said, what do you do for income? I was a web developer for 15 years. Dome, firmament, or sphere? I mean, I think the world is probably spherical. It's oblong. You don't seem to acknowledge that ever. Acknowledge what? That people are smarter than me? Yeah, I just told you people are smarter than me. I get it. Nobody thinks that I'm the smartest person in the room. Who would win in a celebrity boxing match? Elon or Zuckerberg? Probably Elon. People are smarter than you. Oh, yeah, I know. John Kerry is smarter than you. John Kerry is better than you. So is Al Gore. He's on his torpedo. He's on his sky torpedo. John Kerry. All right. It's about to be 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to put my weighted vest on and go for a walk. So I got to get to the giddy up so that I'm not out there at 3 a.m. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. If you're on TikTok, hit the button up here and make sure you follow me so you can join my next live and tell me how stupid I am. If you're on Instagram, make sure you hit the arrow and then give me a follow. If you're listening on the podcast or on the audio only, please go to bobbysauceshow.com and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like the channel, please consider supporting by going to bobbysauce.com. Thank you, everybody, for the Venmos at Take Naps, Cash App at Take Naps. I really appreciate it. It keeps the channel going. Extra special thank you to Dead Pedal Coffee for supporting the channel. Appreciate Dead Pedal. Check them out, deadpedalcoffee.com. Use the code COFFEELOVER for 20% off. If you're a new customer, you can use Bobby Sent Me anytime. That's 15% off from Dead Pedal Coffee. Much love to everybody that's on here. I really appreciate it. I especially appreciate all the people on TikTok that stuck around and told me how stupid I am. I really do appreciate that. That's what keeps the channel going. Your energy is amazing. I love that. Keep hating. I'm all here for it. If you don't have people contradicting you or are being upset with you, then you're not doing anything right. You're not making a difference. So thank you guys for being here and being mad and angry. Capitalism does more to lift people out of poverty than any other financial system in the history of time. Capitalism is good. Big government is bad. The world is trash. Everything's on fire. Joe Byron is not good for the country. Hunter spits paint through a straw. The world is trash. Everything's on fire. I'm going to go put on my vest and tickle your grundle next time. Thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it. I will see you tomorrow. Instagram, Facebook, thanks for being here. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Getter. Peace for now.